My neighbor's son bet me $20 I couldn't fix his dad's broken heart. Neither of us knew what that bet would cost, or what it would finally set free. I'm Claire Whitfield. I run my grandmother's bakery on the corner of 5th and Larkin. 2 doors down lives a widower named Daniel Reyes and his 10-year-old son, Miles. But this story doesn't start with Daniel. It starts with Miles, and a boy's $20 bill folded into my apron pocket, and a secret his father had been carrying for 3 years that had exactly 1 month left before it destroyed everything Daniel had left. Who was Daniel Reyes before grief taught him to disappear inside his own house? What was he hiding in that garage he never let anyone walk into? And when the truth finally came out, would it bring us together? Or cost me the first peace I'd felt in years? Flour dust hangs in the morning light of my shop the way it has every single day since. I was 7 years old, watching my grandmother's hands work dough at 4 a.m. before school. That bakery is the only inheritance that ever made sense to me. She's been gone 6 years now, and some mornings I still turn to ask her opinion on a new recipe before I remember there's no one standing there. I was icing a tray of cinnamon rolls that Thursday when the bell over my door rang, and in walked the only 10-year-old on this block bold, enough to climb onto my counterstool without asking. Miles Reyes. Missing a shoe apparently, though he never explained why. He watched me work in total silence for almost a full minute, which for Miles is basically a world record. "Miss Claire," he finally said, "I have a bet for you." I kept piping icing. "Is that so?" $20, he said, sliding a crumpled bill across the counter like a tiny mob boss. "If you can get my dad to smile for real. Not the fake one he does at parent-teacher night. The real one. I don't even remember what it looks like anymore." My hand stopped moving on the piping bag. I laughed the way adults laugh when a kid says something they think is sweet and impossible. "That's a pretty big bet for $20, kiddo." But Miles didn't laugh with me. His face went still and serious in a way that 10-year-olds shouldn't have to know how to do. "It's not a joke," he said. "He goes into the garage every night after I'm asleep. I hear the door. He thinks I don't notice, but I do. And you fix things, Miss Claire. Everybody says so. So I figured you should fix him." I didn't have anything clever ready for that. I knew Daniel Reyes the way you know a neighbor. A nod at the mailbox, a wave from his truck. His wife, Sarah, had died in a car accident almost 3 years back, on the same stretch of highway everyone in this town avoids talking about. Since then, Daniel had become the kind of quiet people mistake for strength, when really it's just a man running out of road to keep walking down. "It's not that simple," I told Miles. "Grown-up stuff doesn't fix with frosting and good intentions." "You won't know unless you try," he said. And something about how flatly he said it landed harder than it had any right to. Coming from a boy who still couldn't tie his own shoes half the time, I might have let it go. Filed it away under sweet. But no, the way I filed away most things that asked me to feel something. Again after my grandmother died and left me alone in that shop. Except 3 nights later, walking my dog past the Reyes house at 11 p.m., I saw the garage light burning gold under the door, and I heard something I wasn't supposed to hear. Not crying, sawing, steady, patient. Rhythmic sawing, going on well past midnight, night after night for who knows how long. Curious enough, and worried enough, that the next afternoon I did something I never do. I knocked. Daniel opened the door in a sawdust-covered t-shirt, surprised to find a stranger from 2 doors down standing on his porch holding a box of unsold cinnamon rolls as an excuse. "Everything okay?" he asked carefully. The way people ask when they assume something is very much not okay. "This is going to sound strange," I said. "But your son bet me $20 I couldn't make you smile." I watched his face brace itself, the way people brace for a joke made at their expense. "That's not actually why I'm here, though," I said quickly. "I hear the saw every night. I just wanted to make sure you were all right." Something shifted behind his eyes. Not anger, something closer to being caught. "It's nothing," he said. "Just a project." "For 3 years?" I asked before I could stop myself. He didn't answer that. He just looked past me toward the street, and for a long moment, I thought I'd said too much and ruined whatever small thing we'd just started. Then he said quietly, "Come back Friday. I'll show you if you still want to know." I had no idea standing on that porch that a child's $20 bet was about to lead me straight into a secret. Daniel Reyes had been building, literally, board by board for 3 years. A secret with exactly 1 month left before it would have to be finished, or lost for good. Before we get to Friday, If this kind of story pulls you in the way it's pulling you in right now, hit subscribe and turn on that notification bell, because there's a lot more where this came from, and I'd love for you to be here when it drops. Now, back to Daniel. Friday arrived slower than any day had and longer than I wanted to admit. I spent the whole afternoon in the bakery, pretending to restock. A pantry that was already full, my mind 2 doors down the whole time. He met me at the garage door at 6, wiped his hands on a rag, and pulled the light chain without a word. Inside sat a half-finished sailboat. 12 feet of curved cedar planking, sanded smooth as glass in some places, still raw in others, the kind of careful, obsessive work that takes a person years, not weekends. Sarah and I were supposed to sail the coast the summer she turned 35, Daniel said, running a hand along the hull like it was something alive. We never got the chance. After she died, I couldn't look at the plans without wanting to burn them. So instead I started building the boat, one board at a time, for the day I could finally stand to finish it. I told myself I'd know when I was ready. I just never expected not ready yet to turn into 3 years. Does Miles know? I asked. He thinks I'm just tinkering, Daniel said. He doesn't know the boat has a name already picked out. He doesn't know what finishing it actually means to me. What does it mean? Daniel was quiet a long moment, turning a sanding block over in his hands like deciding how much truth a stranger with a box of cinnamon rolls had earned. There's a marina reunion sale at the end of next month, he said finally. Sarah's old sailing club does it every year on her birthday. Her friends asked if I'd bring the boat out, finished just once, so they could see it on the water the way she always talked about. I said yes before I thought it through. Now I'm 1 month out and the hull's not even sealed yet. Then let's finish it, I said. He looked at me like no one had offered him a real hand in 3 years. Because probably no one had. We worked on that boat almost every evening for the next month. Some nights it was sanding and sealant. Some nights it was just sitting in folding chairs in the garage while Miles did homework on an overturned bucket. Us talking about nothing and everything, the way 2 people do when they've both spent years, convincing themselves they didn't need anyone else. 2 weeks before the reunion sale, Daniel's arm seized. Up from months of overuse, an old shoulder injury from his construction days, flaring back with a vengeance right when there was no time left to lose. He called me late one night, more rattled than I'd ever heard him. I can't finish this alone, he said. I can't even lift the mast brace. I've spent 3 years on this boat, and I'm going to fail her by 2 weeks. Everything easy in me wanted to say forget the boat. Forget the deadline, it's all right. That would have been the simple answer. It also would have been the wrong one. You're not failing anybody, I said. You built a whole boat with a bad shoulder and a grieving kid asleep upstairs. That's not failure. That's the toughest thing I've ever watched a person do. So tomorrow I bring my grandmother's old baking crew, because half of them are retired carpenters who miss having something to build, and we finish this together. You don't have to do the last part alone. You were never supposed to. He laughed, wet, reluctant, the first sound in weeks that wasn't heavy. 6 of us showed up the next morning. We sealed the hull, rigged the mast, painted her hull a deep, steady blue, the exact shade Daniel said Sarah always wanted. Miles sanded the transom smooth enough to see his own reflection in it, and insisted on being the one to paint the boat's name on last, Stillwater. The reunion sale came on a bright Saturday in September. Daniel took her out alone first, the way he'd promised himself he would, out past the breakwater and back, while a dozen of Sarah's old friends stood on the dock watching quietly. When he came back in, he wasn't crying. He was smiling, the real one, the one Miles said he couldn't remember anymore. Miles turned to me on the dock with the gravest expression a 10-year-old has ever worn in recorded history. That's the smile, he said. I told you the bet would work. You were right, I told him. You're better at this than I am. I know, he said, completely unbothered by his own genius, and went back to eating his hot dog like he hadn't just quietly repaired 3 lives with a $20 bill. Daniel and I got married the following spring, in the yard behind my grandmother's bakery, under a sign that still reads Whitfield's since 1981. Miles walked down the aisle carrying a small carved model of Stillwater, instead of rings, because, in his words, the real thing is too big to carry down an aisle. But this one still counts. These days, when I close the bakery at night, the garage light isn't a mystery anymore. It's just Daniel, teaching Miles how to sand a joint the honest way, slow and patient, no rushing the grain. Some nights I sit out there with them and think about how close that boat came to sitting, unfinished forever. gathering dust in a dark garage nobody was brave enough to walk into. My grandmother used to tell me that grief and dough have the same rule. You can't rush either one, but you also can't leave them alone forever, or they go stale. So here's what I want to ask you before you go, because I think about it more than almost anything else. What have you left half-finished in some dark corner of your life, telling yourself you'll get back to it when you're ready? And is there someone in your life, right now, quietly waiting for the chance to help you? Finish it, the way a 10-year-old with a crumpled $20 bill decided he wasn't going to wait anymore.